How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. Well, I just was looking over, again, the artwork that your teacher sent me that you had done. That is so cool, and we're so excited about that. I'm so grateful to you for your hard work and for choosing KIVA to do good work through. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Guys, come on.
I know, a little bit louder, guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. You can close the door, sure. Polly, can you tell us maybe a little bit about yourself? The kids are interested also about you, so we can start there, I guess.
Absolutely. So I work on KIVA's education outreach team. At KIVA, we're working to launch a new education program so that student groups like yourselves can come to the KIVA website and have some materials and resources already there for them to use, and also for them to be able to share their progress and what they have done online. And we wanted to develop that and make that a little bit easier so that you guys aren't having to start from scratch every time. And the way that it actually, this program all started was that we had some high school students who were wishing that there was a way to start a KIVA club at their high school, and there was also a group in college that wanted to do the same thing. And so we just said, well, if you want, you can do it. So they started their own websites, one for KIVA High School and one that was called Campus KIVA, that's for college campuses. And those programs really took off, and a lot of chapters started registering around the country. And then we finally realized, okay, there's a real need here for this. We have to do it. So, so now that's where we are now.
Sounds great. Where I was telling the kids that maybe there's a possibility that the educational component for K through 12 might highlight some of their work.
Absolutely, yeah. So we are expanding it beyond the high school student and the college student focus to K through 12 educators who, you know, like here you have a social studies teacher, a lot of times math teachers are trying to use it, sometimes science, geography. So we are always looking for work like yours so we can spotlight and that we can show everyone, like, look at these stars, because everybody loves to learn about kids that are doing really great work. So
And my kids have done some great work. They have some questions for you. Some of the kids
great.
are asking, I guess we're kind of interested in where does the money go once we kind of submit it. So some of the kids have some really good questions. If you mind, can I call a couple of them up?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to my young lady in the front row. Introduce yourself, please, to Polly. Tell her your name, and you can ask her question.
I'm Selma.
Selma? Hi, Selma. How are you?
Hi. What kind of things do you study in college to get to the job in KIVA? What kind of, like...
Okay.
What did you do to land this awesome job?
Well, that's a great question. I studied political science, and actually, it just happens that in one of my political science classes in college, I read this book called Banker to the Poor, which is by this man, Muhammad Yunus, who won the Nobel Peace. Do you guys know? I don't know. He won the Nobel Peace Prize a few years ago in peace. But he's an economist, and he really is kind of credited as the father of microfinance a little bit, because he did such amazing work with his microfinance organization, the Grameen Bank. And I read it, and I was just so excited and inspired by it. And I thought I had already been. I also majored in social justice, so I was already really interested in social entrepreneurship. But that was when I learned about microfinance, I was like, okay, this seems like a really exciting thing to look into. So I kind of had that in the back of my head, but wasn't really aggressively pursuing anything in microfinance. And then I moved to the Bay Area from Oregon, which is where I went to college. I went to college in Oregon, and then for the year after I graduated college, I did a program called AmeriCorps, which is they put volunteers around the country doing all kinds of different projects. And I was working with a group of high school students, trying to develop some academic support programs for them. And then at the end of that year, I moved down here, and I found out KIVA is headquartered here, and it just seemed like everything, all the dots were connecting. So, so I applied and I got it, and I'm an intern. So I'm actually in a volunteer role right now. Our education team is just developing. It's myself and one other person. So hopefully that team will grow a little bit, but that's what it is right now. And I will tell you, so I studied political science and social justice, and I also studied Spanish. But people here have backgrounds across the board. So many people who are engineers, we have psychologists, we have history majors, we have economists, and just everything. So I would say, this is my wisdom for you. Study what makes you excited and what you love to study, and then find a way to use that for good or for something else. Yeah. I wouldn't get hung up on a certain major.
Absolutely awesome, because we've been talking about careers and staying in school and just how, you have to be passionate about what you want to do, and the whole idea about being socially responsible to others worldwide. So you hit on a lot of aspects. That was a really great question, Selma, and thank you, Polly.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Who else has another question? Let me see. What do we have over here? Introduce yourself. Come on up. Take a seat, Selma.
My name is Eamon.
Hi, Eamon.
Hi.
Well, first you can show. How about if you show your artwork? It's in his little book that he created.
Oh, cool. Can you hold it up a little bit? Okay.
There you go.
Cool.
So the kids created artwork, and this happened to be a notepad that he purchased so that he could lend some money to KIVA. So go ahead.
Did you ever meet someone in need of a loan?
So have you been down like in the fields or field work or anything like that?
I haven't done field work myself. I have met, so KIVA is launching has launched a program called KIVA Zip, which is so you guys already studied the KIVA model of you loan your money on KIVA, and then KIVA gives the money to a microfinance institution, and then that microfinance institution gives it to the borrower?
Yes.
Is that,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So KIVA has launched sort of an offshoot that's just developing. It's very new. It represents a very small percentage of KIVA's loan volume still, but that is peer-to-peer lending, where I lend my money to KIVA, and KIVA gives it straight to the borrower, where there isn't the microfinance partner. And those loans, because they don't have the bank checking out the borrower, they have a little bit lower return rate. So instead of the 99% return rate that KIVA loans have, those loans have about an 86% return rate. And right now, those are only available in the United States and Kenya. And as that program grows and gets on its feet more, that will change, but that's what it is right now. So I have met the recipients, the recipients of those loans here in the Bay Area, because there are a lot of them. But I haven't met somebody that before they've received their loan ever. But I know a lot of people who have. One of the things that you get when you are an employee at KIVA, after a year of working here, you can take a trip into the field, and you get to go meet some borrowers and meet microfinance partners on the ground and find out some more. And everyone comes back from those feeling so excited and invigorated about KIVA, because they all have these experiences of going and seeing how somebody's life has really been changed.
Can you give the kids an example that would be kind of
absolutely
great?
One of the most exciting things I can think of is a borrower who in rural Africa, I think it was in Uganda, where we make loans. When one of our staff was out in the field, they learned the story of how they were, because they had received this KIVA loan, they were able to send their kids to school and pay the school fees that the children's school there has. That's not something that we are always used to here, but they have these fees that a lot of times prevent somebody from going to school. And the kids had been able to go to school thanks to the KIVA loan, and as a result, we were seeing not just the borrower and the borrower's generation benefit from that, but also the next generation already learning how to make their business even better, and things that when we have access to finance and capital, those are things that we take for granted sometimes. And so it was a really touching story for me to hear what a big difference that made. And it's also really exciting to me to think about the possibility that a class like yourselves helped make that happen.
Exactly. That's really cool. Thank you, Amy. You can take a seat.
A group of kids like you, led by, and I don't mean, young adults like you, led by a really neat teacher, have made that possible.
She means me. Another question. Raise your hand. Who else? Go ahead, Kevin. Yes. Come on up. Say hi.
Hi. My name is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Hold on. She doesn't have time for you to hold on. Come on.
Are there any other interns for KIVA?
Any other interns?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, there are other interns. KIVA actually is very dependent on its different volunteer programs. So we have 3 different programs, and you guys should keep these in mind, because when you get a little bit older, they might be things that you want to do. One is the intern program that I'm doing, where we are brought in for different departments. And so I'm the only one on the education team. But as I said, there's only 2 of us on the education team. And then there's a lot of interns who work in our community support team, or we even have an intern on the engineering team. At any given time in the office, we have around 20 interns. So it's a lot. And we only have about 100 staff. So when you think about that, that is a ton of volunteer support to have in the office. Then we also have this really cool thing that all of our loans, not all of our loans, but a lot of our loans are translated before they are posted on the KIVA website. So they're translated from French or Spanish or Portuguese before they make it onto the site. And all of those loans are translated by volunteers. And that is very impressive. There are hundreds of volunteers that do that for us. And they do it really quickly and effectively. And so especially if you're interested in another language, or would like to do that, that's a cool thing. And then this one, I think, will probably get you guys really excited. The third component is this group called KIVA Fellows, and they work in the field. So they're sent to Santiago, Chile, and to Nairobi, and to Istanbul, and all over the world. And their job, they are there for 4 months, and their job during that time is to go to the different, go to some different partners and make sure that everything's running smoothly there, go see some different borrowers and make sure that the borrower's profile is represented well on our page, and that the borrower understands what's happening. And that's one way that we make sure that we are that we are doing what we think that we're doing. We don't want any part of the chain breaking down there. So that's what their purpose is, and that's a really cool and very hard time and program for them. So lots of ways to get involved once you guys are just a little bit older.
Awesome question, Kevin. Thank you. Who had questions about the money and them being a nonprofit? Enrico, go ahead. Come on up. This way you can, I don't know if you can see it from back there. So. Come on up. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
Oh, back up a teeny bit, Enrico. There we go. Now you can see him.
What's your name?
Enrico.
Enrico.
Hi.
Alright. My question is, have you ever used your own money to help people?
Have you ever used your own money?
Yes, I have. So, and I actually, the first loan that I made on KIVA was before I worked here. It was a few years ago, and for a long time, what I was doing is I lent that $25, and then I would wait for the $25 to come back, and then I would lend it again and wait for it to come back, and then once I did start working here, I got so excited, because I'm always hearing these stories about, this new exciting partner that we have in Bolivia, and I'm like, oh, I want to make a loan with them, or oh, now we're making loans in India. Oh, I want to make a loan in India. So I got completely addicted.
I was just going to say it's like addicting because we're up to $1,200 in our account, and I just want it to grow. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's completely addicting. So I have lent many dollars now, and we also, one of the fun things also here. Can you guys still see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. One of the exciting things, one of the fun things here also is that all the staff and interns, we have different criteria for who we choose to make loans to. So me personally, I choose to make loans to women. I love to make loans to groups. And this is a newer thing, but I love to make loans in new countries. So I look at the map view where I have already made loans, and then I I haven't made a loan here yet. I really want to make a loan there. So that's how I choose. But then there's other people who love to fund, young male entrepreneurs in the Middle East, because those are typically the slowest to fund, and so they want to be part of, picking the speed up for those. Or, some people only lend to groups, or some people only lend in Africa, so across the board, everyone has their own criteria, but that's the beauty of KIVA. So,
we pretty much stuck with women in Africa, and they were entrepreneurs, and we did do a couple of men. What were the men involved in? What did we pick?
What was for education?
For education, we stuck with education. We had a little educational component to it.
yeah, absolutely. That's really neat.
I know that some of the kids had asked, I was kind of floating around, I can't find the question right now in this class, but what about the idea of you guys being a nonprofit, and where do you generate your funding for employment and your overheads and costs to run KIVA? You can take a seat.
Yeah. So when you make KIVA, actually initially, part of the reason that it became a nonprofit was that we legally it's very hard to. Crowdfunding was just starting out when KIVA is the first. So there wasn't a lot of protocol for how to do something where you're asking everyone on the internet to give money to something that's, when it first started, our founder Matt and his then wife were just sending the money to people that they happen to know in Africa, hoping that it worked, and now here we are all this time later, and it's still a nonprofit and functioning really well that way. But the way that we make money is one way is when you make a loan, you might have noticed that at the bottom of the page there is this thing that says a KIVA tip, and that is automatically added to your purchase, that you can give an additional. I think that when you make a $25 loan right now, it automatically puts on a $3.75 onto that, and that money then helps do things like pay for staff and raise, but it's completely optional, and you don't have to do that. That's not why we're here. Why we're here is that's not the point of making a loan on KIVA. So it's just an added bonus if you feel like you want to do that. And then a large part of our funding comes from large donors, corporations and organizations that that either give their money straight to Kiva for our staff, or for our costs and our rent and our electricity bill and all the little things, our paper and our post-its. Or they also a lot of times will give money for something. Have you you guys might have noticed there's a thing on Kiva that says earn a free loan, invite a friend.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
And you get that money once somebody has once you invite somebody, they've made a loan. And then that money, that $25, comes from donors and things like that. So or sometimes you'll see on a loan it says ×2, that somebody is willing to match the funds raised for that borrower, and they'll donate it, so you can see evidence of where donor funds go on the website, and then obviously the fact that we have a website is evidence of donor funds and the money that we raise through tips. We call them tips.
They're tips. I want a tip. Another question had to do with what if the loan recipient defaults on the loan? What do you guys do?
So actually this happened to me recently for the first time. I had one of my borrowers that I had lent to, their loan went delinquent. They defaulted. And we don't do anything. That's the point where, I say as a borrower, nothing happens. It's just that money now is not going to come back into my account. And the microfinance partner on the ground will, recognize that, and then that borrower won't be eligible for another loan until they've repaid and figured everything out. And it's sad. So this was my first experience with that. It felt really, I'm sitting at my computer going, well, why? What happened? Like, tell me, I want to know. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of access to that information, partly to protect the borrower, because we want to respect the privacy of their privacy and everything like that. But if something happened, like we suddenly started seeing that a microfinance partner, like all of their loans were being defaulted on, or something, then something that would happen is that that borrower, that microfinance partner, would be maybe put on pause from us, and we would wait and figure out, okay, something is not working. You're not doing the proper background, getting the proper background information on your borrowers, or something like that. And the purpose of that is to protect borrowers, because we don't want to be putting people into debt, deep into debt, because the proper verifications haven't happened. So
Okay.
yeah, does that answer that question?
That does. That was awesome. Is there another question? Who else has a question? Because we're getting close to that time. No other questions? You got one? Yeah. You did that, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? No, I think that was awesome. That was so nice of you to spend some time with the kids.
Absolutely. It was so nice to meet you all. And I can't wait to share the resources that your teacher shared with me, Ms. DeSantis shared with me, and I look forward to hopefully hearing more from you and your class soon.
Well, thank you for spending time. I'm going to dismiss these kids in about 5 minutes. And then
Okay.
What time is good for you for the next class? Do you want to go right ahead at 1 o'clock to 1:30?
We can do that, or I had down that we were going from